Welcome to part 3 of testing my entire eyeshadow palette collection, and today I'm going to be reviewing my high-end eyeshadow palettes. So in the past 2 videos I have reviewed my indie palettes and also my drugstore palettes, so it is time for high-end, and then the next video going live will be testing my Colourpop palettes, because there's a hell of a lot of them, they need their own video. So I have 8 high-end palettes to share with you today. I have written down all of my thoughts, all of my opinions. I'm going to go through everything, but just before we do jump into the video, if you have not already, like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. I upload every single day here on my YouTube channel, so there is so much amazing content for you to dive into, and I am also getting a new camera very, very soon, so my quality is going to be going up a notch. I have so much content in mind for when that happens. You do not want to miss it. As always, everything that I'm wearing on my face, as well as everything that I talk about today, will be linked down in the description box. That is the same for every single video here on my channel. Even if I don't say it, everything will be linked. Alright, we've got some duds today. This is the video with the most duds, and that is kind of crazy considering we've done drugstore and indie, and it's high-end palettes that are the just not great palettes. It really does show that more expensive palettes aren't always better quality. So let's get settled in and let's jump into it. Okay, so I'm gonna start with Natasha Denona. Now, if you've been on my channel for any amount of time, you may know that Natasha Denona is not a friend of mine. I don't understand Natasha Denona. I don't think her quality is very good at all, and all of her colour stories are boring. So when she released this mini trio chrome palette, I was so excited, you wouldn't believe. I've had my little eyes on Natasha Denona since she released the Glam palette all the way back in the day. I didn't buy anything from her until pretty recently. So when this was released, I was so excited. Blue is my happy colour. You can probably tell from my eye look today, I love bright, fun, colourful makeup. This was not good. So if this is your first video that you're seeing of me testing my eyeshadow palettes, I have a ranking system. I have what I like to call a traffic light system. So red palettes are palettes that I really do not like. They are on the chopping block. Amber palettes are in the middle. Like I kind of like them, kind of don't. And then green palettes are like big thumbs up. This is an amber palette, and I would probably put this in a red palette category if it wasn't Natasha Denona. Even though I don't like Natasha Denona quality, I know that now. I really am stepping away from them. I don't think I'll be spending any more money on Natasha Denona ever again. But the name Natasha Denona holds some significance in my heart, and it's like I wish with all of my being that I could like this, and that is why it's not a red. It's a little like surface, you know, I know it's not very in-depth, but like this could be in Revolution packaging, I'd believe you. It's just so underwhelming, especially when I was so excited to try it. So as always, I've got my notes. I'm gonna read what I've written up about this palette. Oh, this does break my heart. This one definitely does. So I put one of the biggest disappointments in my whole makeup career. If that's not an opening sentence, I don't know what is. I was so excited to see Natasha come out with blues, as I've been waiting for years. The mattes are fine, nothing special. The duochrome is so disappointing, very bland, not shifty at all compared to my beautiful indie single, lovely, gorgeous shades. Maybe I'm just spoilt with indie brands, who knows. And I've put that this duochrome and Natasha Denona's shimmers, quote unquote, in general, are more satins rather than shimmers. I hate that. I want shimmer. I want in-your-face, blinding, highlighty shimmers. I don't want these like satin kind of shades. It looks great now because I've got lighting, but it's just like there's no sparkle to it. That's what I don't like. There is no sparkle to Natasha Denona shimmers. They're just bland. As I said, this would be a red if it wasn't for the fact that Natasha Denona haunts my dreams. Natasha Denona is one of those brands I really want to love. I just can't. Maybe that should be a video. Oh my god, video idea. Brands that I want to love, but I just can't. I'm going to put that on the notes list. Let me know if you want to see that video. Natasha Denona is 100% one of them. I'm going to put this down because I could rant about that all day. Okay, next we have another Natasha Denona palette. We have 3. This is kind of the mini star. Now this has had a bit of an upgrade. I have replaced this shade and I have replaced this shade. This shade is now the Pastel Roses Beautiful Indie Duochrome shade, and this is actually a Revolution shade because the Revolution shade was better than the Natasha Denona shade. Before I even start talking about the actual review of this used to hold very, very happy memories for me. I got this on holiday with my ex-boyfriend and he ended up cheating on me with 5 different women. So now it's not too great of a memory holder for me. I have ranked this an amber palette as well. However, like I said, I did replace 2 of the shades. So I don't know, like this shade, look at this new shade. Absolutely stunning. Stunning. Look at that. The original blue in this palette, blue, quote unquote, it was just a murky brown. It was not a blue at all. That is the whole reason I bought this palette, because it had a pop of blue. Neutral and blue is one of my favorite color stories. I bought this palette because it looked beautiful and the blue looked blue in the pan. But as soon as you swatched it, it was just this murky, muddy brown. It was disgusting, and I was not keeping that in this palette, absolutely not. So an amber palette would be red. Honestly, would be red. Again, it would be red, same as the mini Triochrome, if it wasn't Natasha Denona. Like, I can't get over this mental block. So what do I put? I had to declutter shades from this palette because I really hated it. Good start. Again, the duochrome was so underwhelming, shifting mainly murky brown, very unflattering, no blue shift at all, really. I put the mattes are fine, but the expectation was so high, and I feel like I'm constantly disappointed with Natasha Denona. And I think that's one of the things. My expectations for Natasha Denona is so high because they are so hyped in the makeup industry, and I just don't know why. A few of you guys have also said that you have no idea why Natasha Denona is so hyped. Honestly, guys, we're in it together. We're in it with the low lives together. We're with the scum of YouTube who don't like Natasha Denona. But hey, I don't get it. I don't get the massive hype. She's not cheap. And talking of not cheap palettes, my wonderful friend Ali actually bought me the Natasha Denona Glam palette. I'm holding it upside down, which is a good start. So my whole thought process when it came to Natasha Denona is I wanted to start off with the mini palettes, and I bought the mini star because I was like, right, I really want the Glam palette. This was all about the Glam palette, okay? I bought the mini star because I was like, I want the Glam palette, but I don't want to be spending like £70 for an eyeshadow palette that I don't really know the quality of. So I bought one of the mini palettes, hated it. Bought a second mini palette, hated it. And I was very vocal about that on YouTube. So Ali reached out and just said, look, I'm going to buy you the Glam palette. You're going to love it. It's an amber palette. This is what it looks like. Online, it looks a lot more cool toned. I'm a cool tone girly. I love my cool tones. Cool tone neutrals, right up my street. I love cool tone neutrals. They are the only neutrals that I will wear. This is a lot more neutral in person. There's like these few shades that are very cool, but these pull very warm. So it's a little bit like, about that. I've learned with this palette, and I've said this before in my No Pan Left Behind project pan, I needed to lower my expectations for this palette in order to like it. Do I want to do that with makeup though? Do I want to have to lower my expectations in order to like a palette? I don't think so. I want to have super high expectations, and I want to have those expectations met at least. If they can go above those expectations, absolutely amazing. Do I want to lower expectations for a £70 eyeshadow palette? I don't think so. These shimmers, they're okay. There are a few more shimmery shimmers in this palette. There are a few more satiny shimmers. I'm not a satin shimmer girly. I'm really not. This is a nice palette. It's fine. What have I said? I wanted to love this palette and I wanted this to be my new favorite palette in the world. I had very high expectations for this palette, and at first it did not meet those expectations at all. Then however, once I lowered my expectations, I began to like it more. I need to learn to love this palette for who she is, but do I want to do that with an eyeshadow palette? No, I do not. This palette is my final try for Natasha Denona, and I have accepted that her makeup style is very different to mine. I think that's the main thing. I think mine and Natasha Denona's makeup styles are very, very different. She is into the very kind of neutral glam. I am into crazy bright ass shimmer from space eyeshadow. We're very, very different. We're never gonna meet in the middle. That's okay. I thought we were meeting in the middle when she came out with this. No, we were not. I wanna love this. And I think it's a really nice work palette. I think if I wasn't panning so many neutrals right now, if I wasn't a project panner and this was like one of the only palettes I had, I'd use this for work all the time. But with my current situation, I do envision this almost getting lost a little bit, and I need to remind myself to use this. I do feel really, really guilty in a way because this was a gift to Ali, and Ali does watch all my videos. If you're watching, Ali, thank you so much. Like, I really, I don't want to say anything bad about it because it was a gift from my wonderful friend, and I like it. I don't hate it, I like it, but this is it for me and Natasha Denona. We're breaking up. I'm going to move on because I feel really bad about that one. So Huda Beauty, let's move on. So the first palette is the Wild Jaguar palette. This was in a video recently talking about makeup that I forgot existed in my makeup collection. This I definitely forgot existed, but this is a green palette. I love this palette. There is one dud shade, which is this kind of purpley, like you can't really see it very much. That's it, swatch there. I'm never, ever, ever gonna reach for that shade. It is like really not good. Like I'm gonna go over it a few times and it's pretty much gone. Not the best. I'm not into that shade at all. The rest of the shades I really like, and this matches my style so well. I found with Huda Beauty, she likes these more like pink leaning light shades. This is my grungy dream. I love it so much. Huda Beauty, big thumbs up from me. I really do like this palette and I need to pull it out more. I did say in my makeup I forgot existed. All of these mattes I'm currently panning. So I think that's why I don't reach for it, because I'm already panning all the mattes. So why would I bring it out? But I need to remember that these shimmers exist because they are so beautiful. This middle shade, I've swatched this in every video that I've spoken about this palette. Like this matches the shine of like indie brands. And it is so beautiful. It's a yellow to purple flip. Mwah. It's a sentimental palette, as it was one of the first palettes I reviewed on my YouTube channel. It was way back when. I had no idea what I was doing. I remember when this first released and I was like, oh my god, that is so beautiful. So I bought it and I reviewed it. And I was only a wee baby here on YouTube. I'm not very familiar with Huda, but this palette is a very me color story, 100%. The middle shade, stunning. We've already been through this. This shade is my life. There are a few dud shimmers in this palette. We've spoken about that. I want to use this palette so much more, and I'm excited to roll it into a project pan and give it some love. I'm thinking maybe a project level up or a project no pan left behind palette. I think that would be really, really good for this palette, just to give it some use, get it some love, because I feel bad. It's one of those palettes I feel guilty for neglecting because it is so stunning. Green palette through and through. I'm absolutely 100% happy with this palette. This is how you do a shimmer. Natasha Denona, take note. Please don't come at me for not liking Natasha Denona. Natasha Denona stands as scary, okay? Please don't hate me. So my second Huda Beauty palette that I have in my collection is my Huda Beauty Neon Orange Obsessions. This is not a me color story at all, but I love it. I love it. This is a fantasy self summer loving palette. Like if I'm living in LA and I'm going to the pool and I want to do my makeup, but I don't want to do like this, I'll put one of these like neons all over the eye and be like that cool hip girl, you know? That was my fantasy. I very rarely start my looks with anything but a black, and obviously you can't really blend much in this palette with a black. Maybe this like deep-ish red, but that's it. But I still love it. This chartreuse, stunning. There isn't any of those super glittery shimmers in here, but the shimmers are still a really, really nice quality, and I'm pretty happy with them. I put this color story isn't me on paper, but I absolutely love it. This is for when I want to be my warm color fantasy self, which is rare, but worth it. The quality is lovely. It's a perfect for the summer months, a very seasonal palette for me. Chartreuse to die for. Yeah, so another thing, I live in England, so we get like a week of summer. So the time for this is very limited, but when I do manage to use it, it's beautiful. These two shades were in a Pan Those Eyeshadows project. I loved working on those two. I do have pan on this one. When I am like told to use this palette, I absolutely adore it. And I feel like that could come across as like a bad thing. Like I have to be told to use it. But honestly, I just have so many palettes in my collection that I have to be told to use like everything. That is one of the reasons I do project pans, because I can roll things in, roll things out. It gets a little bit less overwhelming when I open my drawer. I am told what to use on an everyday basis, and I need that. So I need to tell myself to use this more. I think it's got like hairspray on it or something, because it's got that weird texture, which is nice. I would not put this and me together, but sometimes opposites attract. Okay, so the next palette that I want to talk about is Nabla. Now, I didn't know where to put Nabla. I didn't know if it counted as drugstore, high-end, indie. I'm not too sure. I'm not very familiar with the brand. This is the only palette that I have from Nabla, but this is a green palette through and through. I love this palette. I really haven't had the chance to use this very much, which does break my heart. Again, it comes with having a big makeup collection, and it also comes with being a project panner, unfortunately. This was a contender for Pan That palette this year, but you guys said no, and I started panning the Soph X Revolution palette because that is what you guys voted for, and then I said no, and I'm gonna change it. So that's what I did. I think I could finish this in a year, and it is so beautiful. It is very, very me. A little bit more warm tone than I think I would personally like. And I have said in my notes that it is a little bit of a one-trick pony. I don't really know many different types of looks that I could do with this. I'd put this in the crease, blend it out with this, and then put one of these shimmers on the lid. I will say, this silver, I'm literally gonna like tap it. It is so blinding. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on. Oh, my candle just burnt out. I've got an empty candle. Anyway, I got distracted. This silver is my new best friend. This shade Gem System is absolutely stunning to me. I love these like grey taupey shades. I really like this. I'm not too sure why this gold is here. Like if I cover up this gold, I feel like this color story is a lot more cohesive. Just having like a random gold, I'm not sure, maybe it could be like a lower lash line shade, like a pop, a contrasty pop. I don't know, but this is so stunning. It really makes me intrigued about Nabla. There was a blue Cutie palette. This is the Cutie Platinum, by the way. I don't think I said that. But there was a blue Cutie palette that came out. I was so intrigued about that. You have no idea. I really wanted to buy that palette, but I just didn't have the funds at the time. This palette is so nice. I think I would have been really, really happy with this as a Pan That palette. Maybe in a few years, maybe next year, maybe the year after. I don't know, but I do want to get a lot of love on this. Again, maybe a Level Up palette, maybe a No Pan Left Behind palette. I want to make time for this because the quality is stunning. It is so beautiful, and I do forget about it a little bit, and I don't want to do that. That's not good. If you have a Nabla palette that you think is like the best thing since sliced bread, let me know down below because I'm definitely intrigued about this brand and I want to learn more about them. Okay, and the final brand that I have to talk about today is ABH. So you guys may know I am panning the Modern Renaissance as my Pan That palette. Am I going to review it? I've not written anything up about it, but I really like that palette. It's a classic palette. Love it. I haven't written anything. I don't really want to include it in this video because I feel like I just talk about it so much on my channel, but I love the Modern Renaissance. Classic. moving on. Let's start with Subculture. My baby Subculture. What an absolute dream palette. I love this. I've put first line of my notes, justice for Subculture. So many people hate this palette, and I will say I'm pretty sure I have the new formula of this instead of the original formula. I know a lot of people had issues with the old formula of this palette. I got this in TK Maxx a very long time ago, and I have loved it ever since. I've put the color story of this palette was so before its time, and I stand by that 100%. If this was released today with this quality, I think it would be an absolute hit for ABH. I think for any brand, this is such a beautiful color story, and I know ABH is known for those like very neutral palettes with pops of blue or pops of pink or pops of whatever. This is like so left field, and I love it. I've put this one is one of the more neglected palettes in my collection. Again, not great, though this shade is in my Pan Those eyeshadows. I do have a big dip on that, so that's exciting. And I put the duochrome is how you're supposed to do high-end duochromes. Natasha Denona, take notes. I've put I miss using this palette, and it still stands up to this day, and I will stand by that. Subculture is amazing. Justice for Subculture here on my channel. If you're a Subculture hater, I can't believe you. I can't believe you. I want to get more use on this. It is a little bit of a tricky palette to incorporate some days. Some days I do have to really sit down and think, right, what am I actually doing with this? But overall, amazing. Mercury, my kind of shade. This is like Warm Taupe 2.0, and if you were here for the Warm Taupe saga, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Green palette, through and through, literally, and in my ranking system. And finally, for this video, we have the Soft Glam palette. Again, they've ranked themselves for me. This is an amber palette, literally and metaphorically. However, I've put in my notes, this palette isn't amber because of the quality, it's amber because of the color story. I very rarely reach for neutrals, and warm neutrals are like even lower on the list. If I'm gonna go with a neutral look, it's gonna be like a cool tone, smoky kind of look. This is a very, very warm tone palette. You can see I do have a few pans in it, which is amazing. I'm very happy about that. And I have said these two shimmers, Glistening and Fairy, little bit underwhelming. Like, they are kind of Natasha Denona reminiscent to me, but there are some really nice, like, shimmery shades. This was a contender for Pan That palette as well. However, I decided that because I spent all of last year panning Modern Renaissance, and I'm still panning it now, I thought having another ABH palette, especially a palette with repeating shades, would just be way too much for me. So unfortunately, this is not being panned this year. However, again, it's one of those palettes I could definitely pan in the future, and I think I could be pretty happy with it. I think I'd need some like cool toned inspiration from other palettes, maybe as like a companion palette, but this is a really nice palette. It is very, very nice. I remember really wanting this, mainly just because it was ABH and I was in that mindset at the time, but I have got 1, 2, 3 pans in here. I'm very happy, and yeah, it's nice to look at. I really like the like OG ABH era. I really do miss it. It's one of those brands that I, again, really want to love because I was obsessed with ABH back in the day. I'm not too much of a fan of their like new era, but it is what it is. You can't always live in the past. You gotta move with the times. So what have I put? I put neutral palettes aren't often used a lot by me, especially outside of project pans. The shimmers are a little underwhelming, mainly Fairy and Glistening, but I feel like that's the vibe of this palette. Soft and subtle is not in my vocabulary, and this is what this palette radiates. This could be a possible declutter in the future, but for now, I love having my ABH palettes all together. Yeah, I think if I don't project pan this as a Pan That palette, it may be a declutter in the future. I don't want to declutter it right now, but I can foresee it going that way maybe in a few years. I'm not sure. It all depends on how my collection grows and evolves, but for right now, I'm happy having it in my collection and I like it. I enjoy it. So here we go. These are all my high-end palettes. What did you think? Do you agree with my list, or do you very much disagree with something that I have said in this video today? Let me know down below because I'm always intrigued to hear your thoughts. What is your favorite high-end eyeshadow palette? Let me know because maybe that's something that I've got to look into as well. You know me, I am so nosy. I love a good gander, so let me know everything down below. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, like and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow for a brand new video. Bye bye!